This is James Lupton for Slothbox, sponsored by the Excelsior Sporting Club. And today I'm joined with Alex Winwood, a highly rated prospect over in Australia. Alex, how are you doing?
Yeah, very good. Thanks for having us on, eh?
No worries at all. Thanks for coming on and thank you for your time. Um, you've got a fight coming up. Let's start there first of all. You are currently 2-0, but you're jumping straight into your first title fight. Your second fight was a 10 rounder. It's something that's, rarely heard of in boxing, where you're jumping up the levels so quickly and so soon in your career. For yourself, why do you want to progress so fast?
Um, I guess, I'm 25, turning 26 next month, which is kind of like a bit of a prime time age. Um, I've been to the top of the amateurs. I already feel like I have the skills to hang with the best. And yeah, I just don't really want to have to, go through journeyman and fight taxi drivers for the next few years when I know that I have what it takes to get in with the best right now. So
It's a really good mentality to have to jump straight into these fights and mention title fights so early in your career. Because we see sometimes Olympians who stay as amateurs for a long time, especially over here in the UK, and they turn professional and they're still building up their record with the likes of journeyman to get the rounds in as a professional. Because sometimes that transition's not always immediate, I suppose, between amateurs and professionals. Some people feel like they have a style suited to the pros as an amateur. Was that the case for yourself?
yeah, I definitely think so. I think that's got a big part to do with it. I knew early on that my style wasn't um, the the best technique for the amateurs, and that I had a more pro like style. And um, yeah, I think now that I've got to test the waters in the professionals, it definitely does take my style does take the professionals a lot more than the amateur system. So yeah, I feel more at home as a professional than as an amateur.
A lot of people would sort of look at the amateurs and say it's more of a tippy tappy style. It's you win on points, you rack up your point scores, etc. Yourself as a pro so far, two fights in, two stoppages. What were your stoppages like as an amateur? Was you stopping guys regularly, or was your style slightly different as an amateur because of that?
I only stopped two people in my whole career, and that was my last two of three fights. I always knew that I had power, but you have very big padded gloves as an amateur, and you got like cotton wraps on as well. So a lot plays into it, and you've only got 3 rounds, and um, you want to worry about more so winning the first 2 rounds rather than leaving it to the last and trying to KO someone. And um, yeah, so I think it had more to do with the fact that you wanted to progress to a world championships or an Olympics or something like that and actually win rather than kind of self relying on a KO to come. But now as a pro, um, I have the time to have a game plan and break someone down and find myself in the ring. And in my last two fights, I've found that. And yeah, the stoppages have came. I didn't go looking for them, but um, yeah, we'll get a bit more time. The gloves are obviously smaller, and the damage is a lot more severe. So yeah, I think it does play a lot into um, the gloves and the hand wraps and the fact that you have more rounds, really.
You mentioned more rounds, and as I mentioned earlier, your second fight, you jumped straight into a 10 rounder. Now, both your fights have been stopped early. You've not gone past the fourth round yet. But in terms of camp and training, how much have you had to adjust your training camp from the amateurs, where you only do your 3 rounds, to training for a 10-round fight?
Yeah, I think it's just been a slow progression over my whole career, really. Like um, as I got towards an elite amateur, I was always kind of sparring 6 rounders and things like that, which um, at a quite high pace for 6 rounds. So slowing it down and doing it over 12 and things like that, I've kind of taken to it like a duck to water, um, and really kind of found myself. But at the start, maybe a year ago, I kind of started to make the transition, knowing that my amateur career was finishing up, and then I kind of have to start looking to do more rounds and things like that. Um, so yeah, over the past year, I've been building that endurance up and that mental um, that mental fatigue. Making sure that I can stay focused throughout 12 rounds and that. And yeah, I think it's going to show. And I do the rounds in training. Obviously, it hasn't um, haven't had the opportunity to show that in a fight yet, but if ever need be, I know that I've got the fitness and the mental strength to stay in there for 12 rounds, 12 hard rounds as well. So um, I've got no worries about that.
Fantastic. You mentioned, so you're 25 now. You feel like you're coming into your sort of peak and prime years. You've only been boxing, I believe, for about 10 years. I think you started at about 15 years old. So you've not really been boxing an awful long time compared to some other fighters at your age. Do you feel that plays a part? You've not got too many miles on the clock. So do you feel you can peak sooner?
Yeah, I just think like kind of I'm almost like at a crossroads where like my maybe I don't have all the miles on the clock, but in terms of like just me maturing, that my physical capabilities are kind of coming to their peak, um, and just with the experience that I've had passed on to me in the gym with my trainer and my gym mates and things like that, now I can kind of feel like the next couple years is really going to be the pinnacle of me performing in a boxing ring. So um, yeah, it's just I'm on the horizon of it, and I really feel it coming.
As I mentioned earlier, it's a title fight in your third fight here as well. You're fighting I think the WBC ranked number 5 fighter in his division. So it's a big step up in terms of opponent for yourself so early on in your career.
Yep.
Just how much are you looking forward to this fight and claiming your first title?
Yeah. Really looking forward to it. Like I've had a great camp so far. I've been over in Las Vegas with the Maloney twins while they was competing in their world title belt. So um, the last 5 6 weeks has just been uh, kind of a very good insight to see what can come up in later on down the track when I'm going for my world title. But in terms of this training camp, it's just been unreal. I've got best sparring that I've had. I've been able to see a lot of different styles and get out of my comfort zone, be at other people's gyms and things like that, go in their backyard, which I've been used to as an amateur. You go everywhere, so um, yeah, I think the next 3 weeks I'm ready to go now, really, but we're just kind of polishing off everything, and come June 16th, I'm gonna be like just an animal raring to go, waiting for him. So yeah, it's exciting, and um, I know that he's got the runs on the board and things like that. So I don't take him lightly, but yeah, I know that I'm in the best shape that I can be. So I hope that he is too.
You've just come on to my next question nicely there a moment ago when you mentioned about spending time in Vegas with the Maloney twins. Obviously, they're preparing for their world title fights, and that's the level you want to get to yourself. What was that like to be able to soak in just that whole experience? Spend time out in Vegas, a couple of weeks training out there. I'm assuming at the top ranked gym, and then obviously fight nights as well. Obviously, Jason victorious. Unfortunately, Andrew wasn't. So you saw the highs and the lows as well, all within the space of a couple of weeks. What was that whole experience like?
Yeah, it was invaluable, really, especially being on the inside of it. Like you can always kind of watch from afar and whatever else, but to be training alongside him, and obviously riding the highs and the lows with them. You can't buy that type of experience. Like it took these two guys to bring me in their camp, and being my mate, they've allowed me to be on the inside and experience it where they wouldn't have had that opportunity, and they've gifted that to me. So I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, it's definitely something that's made me very well aware of um, the possibilities, the chances, and things that come up that are down the road. As long as I keep getting the wins on the board, so which I feel like I will, especially being around these guys. they're passing everything they've learned on to me, and those are, things that I don't have to wait around to learn myself, getting those type of knowledge passed on.
And last question from myself, Alex, in terms of your progression, your future, every boxer's ambition is to become a world champion. You are seemingly being fast tracked, as I mentioned, international title coming up in 3 weeks' time. And that will, I assume, give you a potentially a top 15 world ranking. Now, for yourself, when realistically do you want a world title? When's potentially too soon as well? When you don't want to be rushed into it, but you feel ready. When do you want the title?
Well, I'm already rated 12th by the IBF and 13th by the WBC, so hopefully after this win that we're kind of crack that top five. I want it as fast as I can get it. Jeff Fennick holds the Australian world record for fastest male boxer to win a world title in 7 fights, and our ambition is to do it in 6. I don't see why I can't. As long as the opportunity is arises, and the title holders take the fight. Yeah, like sooner the better. I think it's not going to happen in the next fight, but hopefully the one after that. If not, definitely the on my 6th bout. I'd love to fight for one, but if it doesn't happen until a couple of bouts after that, it's really like an advantage to me. I have more experience and whatever have you. So yeah, like I'm in the game to take everything I can while I can and as fast as I can, rather than sticking around and waiting for opportunities to pass me by and damage to take place, which that's not in my interest. So the faster I can get through these guys and take everything that I've come in this sport to take, that's what I'm here for to do.
And how active are you hoping to be as well? Because you've had, your third fight coming up, and you've only had your debut in November, so it's not
Yep.
really a long space of time between your fights. Let's say you do get it in your 6th fight. Could we be looking at the start of next year, and in just over 12 months of a professional career, be a world champion?
Yeah, definitely. Like if it happens that quick, that's fantastic. But you know, I feel like once we're kind of knocking on the door for a world title eliminator or even a mandatory or something like that, that it might not come as fast as we want. There might be a bit of negotiation, things like that, and people postponing fights. So whether it happens at the start of next year, hopefully by the end of next year, that we're definitely in that ring for competing for that world title. That's the goal, but only time will tell. But I've got full belief in myself and in my team that when the opportunity comes, that we're going to take it and we're going to be victorious.
Absolutely, and I'm sure you will be. Alex, I want to thank you for your time today. All the best of luck for the fight in a few weeks' time, and looking forward to that world title fight in the near future.
Yeah, I appreciate it, mate.